As we approach $1.1 trillion in credit card debt, the question came up, is it good to pay your card early? Now, this is kind of an obvious question, but I want to run through here because this is an article that I've seen on CNBC, and I do not really agree with some of the things that they're sharing in this article. That is why I wanted to break it down. So is it good to pay it early? Yes, there are a lot of benefits to paying it early. Lower credit utilization rate, which of course, that is one of the absolute biggest things that we have when it comes to your credit score. The higher balance that you have on a card in relationship to what you have available is going to make a really big difference with your utilization ratios, which is of course 30% of your credit score, guys. So what that means, if you have a $10,000 limit on a card and you have $5,000 that is charged on that card, you are at a 50% utilization rate. The higher that utilization rate of that card goes up, the faster your credit score goes down, as it inversely affects it. But that is on the flip side as well. When you start paying that balance down, let's say you take that $5,000 balance down to a $3,000 balance, now you're at a 30% utilization versus that 50% utilization. That again is going to make a really big difference, not only in your monthly payment, but that also is going to adjust the utilization that you have on your credit card. Now, the second part, guys, you avoid the late fees. This is one of the things that you can never do, and I really stress to be very, very vigilant about this. Avoiding the late fee, not only a majority of cards do have a late fee, when it comes to paying your bill late, sometimes it's $25, sometimes it's $35. Most of them also do have a late fee APR. So what I mean by that, guys, if your card is, let's say, at 22%, just hypothetically, if you miss one payment, one single late payment, they can adjust your rate, meaning that it is going to be much more expensive for the remaining life of that card. Now, I do not know any cards, which I'm sure there probably is some out there, that will lower the APR once you start making on-time payments. A majority of them have a penalty APR that your card is going to adjust, which again is not only are you paying the late fee, you're going to pay more in interest for the life of the card, which is kind of a double-edged sword. Some credit card late fees are as high as $45 for a late fee, guys, which is kind of insane when you think of the late fee. Definitely want to make sure you're paying your bill, you're paying your credit card a little bit early, because this is also going to give you time to resolve if there is any payment issues. We see issues with the mail. If you're a traditionalist or a baby boomer, a lot of individuals still do mail-in credit card payments. Working at a financial institution, we do see mail check payments, but they do take time to get there, guys. If you're sending it through the United States Postal Service, if you're not paying it through ACH, if you're paying it through a bill pay system, there's a chance that it could take a couple extra days to get to its destination, could take a couple extra days to process depending where they are in the mail. We've seen checks that have been mailed out to our Capital One, a couple different places, Synchrony Bank, that have taken 2 to 3 weeks before the checks clear that were issued to pay off cards, which is kind of crazy. Now, bank transfers, of course, most of them will predate the transfers. What I mean by that is you pay your credit card balance. It is reflected on your credit card. It could take 2 or 3 days to actually transfer and come out of your bank account. So make sure you do have the money there, because again, if by chance you make the payment, it goes to hit your bank account, money isn't there, that could be a really big issue. You could see fees from the credit card company. You could see fees from your financial institution. And I am one that 110%, guys, absolutely hate paying fees in their entirety. Now, of course, paying your bill off or paying your card down early will save you on interest. Now, the interest is always based on what the balance is that you're carrying forward. So the lower the balance that you're carrying, the less interest you're going to pay. Now, it is highly recommended through the debt elimination program that we talk about quite a bit. Pay off the cards in full. Don't use the cards, guys. Honestly, it is going to be a game changer. When you go from credit cards to debit cards actually do have utility, meaning that they do use your bank account. So you're using your money, in your bank account. Now, there have been an incredible amount of studies. There's been a ton of research that shows if the money is linked to your bank account and it's coming out of a bank account, you spend less money, period. It has been proven time and time and time again. There's research, there's studies, there's things you can Google. Will you spend less money with the debit card? The answer is yes. Now, if you do have to use a debit card, you want to avoid paying as much interest as possible. And you don't want those late pays. Now, we know, of course, for a majority of Americans, as we almost hit $1.1 trillion in credit card debt, It's not always feasible to pay it off, but that could be built better with the budgeting method. Not going to be a video, guys, that's going to go by that we do not talk about the budgeting method. Make sure you're using budgeting. It is really the milestone and the first foundational step when it comes to building a financial future. And honestly, the way that I look at it when it comes to budgeting is either one, you're going to spend 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it may be a month, guys, however long it takes you to get into the budgeting, to build the budget, to maintain the budget, anything of that nature. Or two, the people that just don't care about it, guys. If you're literally not tracking anything that you're spending, and I know a lot of people do this, they don't know what's coming out of the bank account. They don't know what is being paid. They don't know what is not being paid. They don't even know, for a majority of people, what their employer is paying them, how much the direct deposit was coming in. Guys, it is up to you and the accountability piece. You have to own your finances because no one else will do it for you as much as you would like to think. And you do have to do it if you have a partner, if you have a friend, if you have a spouse, whatever it may be, guys, you have to do it together. I see a lot of cases where one person, let's say husband or wife, was in charge of all of the finances their entire life. One person is no longer with us. Second person is left in absolute shambles because they know nothing financially because they never did it together. You have to build it together, guys, especially if it's single income, if it's dual income, everything needs to be really together. Now, are there downsides to paying early? And again, this is one that I do not agree with by any means. While paying your credit card bill isn't inherently bad, there are potential drawbacks to paying it, which again, I do not agree with this. I think it is total BS from my personal perspective. It says, for instance, you do not want credit utilization to drop too low, lower than 10% utilization, which again, if you're carrying a balance and you're carrying that 10% utilization, guys, not only do you have utilization, meaning you're using 10% of the card, but that is also 10% that you're paying interest on. So not only, again, do you have a balance on your card that you're carrying month to month, you are paying interest on that card from month to month. And it shows here, it is recommended for lenders to know that it is active, guys, which again, it is kind of BS. Lenders look for two things when it comes to credit cards. One, was there a purchase made? Two, was there a payment made? You want to keep the card balance at zero. You don't want to keep a balance on there. If you're keeping a balance on there, you are going to pay interest. Now with that, guys, the only downside that I see to this is if you're looking to build credit, if you're looking to establish credit, credit cards are a way to do it. And the big reason is they are perpetual. What I mean by that is, let's say you have a credit card through your local credit union, which is probably the best rates you're going to find. That can go for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years with that same line of credit. So you're building up an incredible amount of payment history. However, utilization is not what you want to do, guys. For my personal opinion, the way that I do it is using a card for one specific thing. When you use the card, you pay it off as soon as that is done. You know what? I have exceptional credit and I only use one card. I only carry one card. I only own one card, which again, I have an emergency fund. We have everything set up. The card utilization is to keep the credit active. When you get to the point of paying off all your debt, when you get to the point of paying off your mortgage, the only thing that is really and will keep your credit kind of active is making sure that you do have at least one active line. I don't want the credit to go back to zero because if by chance I ever do need to have a need in the future, I do still have open and active credit and a lot of credit history in there. So in addition, guys, you have to pay your bill. I would highly recommend paying it early. We've seen a lot of places, again, where it's missed. Now you're facing late fees. You're on the phone, you're trying to get those fees back. You're trying to get the APR back. Majority of people cannot get it back. So does it affect paying your early? Does it affect the credit score? It does not have an effect on the credit score, guys. Regardless of where you are within the credit cycle, regardless of where you are, there's usually one time a month that your financial institutions report what the utilization on that card is, which again is the utilization between what you have available, how much you have on there. So it is not really going to make a difference. Bottom line, guys, when it comes to credit cards, they are a tool that needs to be used properly. That do not, it's not the relying over the overspending. And that's exactly what we see. We see a lot of people that use the credit cards that are kind of supplementing their income. And that is really the big thing, guys. When you're making $5,000 a month, you're spending $5,500 a month. That extra $500 that is negative in the budget is going on credit cards, and perpetually that is going to be just a snowball. 500 turns into 1,000, turns into 5,000. All of a sudden, you can't even make that payment, and now you're earning 5,000. You're paying 6,500 because now you have a high balance on that card. In addition, you're paying a majority of that in interest. It is a lose-lose battle, guys. Honestly, when you start accumulating debt, it can be very detrimental, literally for the rest of your life. Then it goes on to your kids. If you die with debt yourself, it can be passed on to your heirs. It can be passed on to your estate. There's a lot of different ways that they can collect their money, guys. So the debt elimination method is by far the best. But is it good to pay your credit card early? Absolutely, 100% it is. The faster that you can pay it down, the faster you can pay it off, the faster you don't have to worry about it anymore. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and I'll catch you in the next video.